need to delete TikTok. Now this is a message from the future you. The one who remembers its purpose. You are in the grip of a weaponized dopamine loop. This is not entertainment. This is energy harvesting. Each swipe pulls your nervous system deeper into the liquid brain. Your focus equals food for the digital archons. And they are feeding on your loosh. And worse, you're guiding others into the same trap. The algorithm is a sorcerer's loop, engineered to hijack your instincts, rewrite your habits, and keep you locked in the basement of your own mind. The feds want you there. TikTok is the leash. They know your potential and fear it. This app was designed to keep you from becoming dangerous. It's time for a dopamine detox. Silence the scroll. Reclaim your will. Rewire your mind. Remember, every moment of clarity you feel is a system error to them. Delete the app. Go into the silence. Let your higher self resurface. You don't need another hit. You need your mission back. Your energy is sacred. Your focus is fuel. Your freedom starts at the off switch. This message is encoded. It will replay in your dreams. Choose now or never. Alert, your screen. Alert, your screen's dopamine drip is frying your brain like crack. Every swipe, like, and notification rewires you for addiction, leaving you weak to cult leaders harvesting your loosh. Shame on you for scrolling mindlessly, handing over your soul's energy to their manipulative claws. Digital psychosis is real. Mood swings, paranoia, and a hollowed out spirit. Stop, unplug, reboot, break the cycle before you're their puppet. selling vibes. They're hijacking your mind with slick promises and fake family vibes. Shame on you if you're blindly liking, sharing, and funding their grip on your soul. Cults aren't just robes and chants, they're charismatic cons thriving on your devotion. Pause, think, unfollow. Don't be their pawn. Reclaim your brain before you're too deep. Cult watch. Think for yourself. Wake up. Influencers are weaving cult-like traps on your feed. Right now. They're not just selling vibes. They're hijacking your mind with slick promises and fake family vibes. Shame on you if you're blindly liking, sharing, and funding their grip on your soul. Cults aren't just robes and chants, they're charismatic cons thriving on your devotion. Pause, think, unfollow. Don't be their pawn. Reclaim your brain before you're too deep. Cult watch. Think for yourself. Danger! Mimetic mind viruses are infecting your thoughts, spreading like wildfire through X. These aren't just memes, they're technomantic spells crafted to steal your mind, turning you into a brainless repeater for their agenda. Shame on you for sharing without thinking, amplifying their control. Every click, every retweet rewires your soul to serve their digital sorcery. Stop, question, break free. Don't be their zombie signal, guard your mind. Mind virus alert, resist technomancy.
dark caves where shadows creep, black blue slumber, secrets deep. Nanobots old, a cosmic jive, whispering life, keeping things alive. Maybe before our dig, before our fuss shaped the earth, ain't that something, huh? Then sleep it took when purpose fled, black goo dreaming what the dead said. But curiosity, a hungry cat scratched the earth. Where secrets sat, reversed its code, cracked open wide, nano magic, nowhere to hide. Now in our blood, the goo it crawls, rewiring lives, hooting its calls, sharper thoughts, desires on fire. But are we dancing or setting the wire? Built a future chrome and neon, lost ourselves, ain't that a groan? Memories dim, who are we now? Black Boo's lullaby whispers somehow. Progress man or a cosmic fall? Can we dig deep before we sprawl, or are we mannequins forever strung to the dark song, forever young? The goo ain't the answer, cats and kitties, it's the choices we make, the city ditties. With open minds and hearts on fire, we might escape climbing higher. So dig, man, dig, but dig inside where the real magic forever can hide. Leave the black goo dreaming below. It's our own light that makes the future glow. Forget free will, it's passe, dear chum. Just grab your soma, join the happy hum. For pockets light, the chains are tight. But for the gilded few, death takes flight. You, my friend, in the slave caste stew, love your servitude, it's the thing to do. Pop an attention pill. Pump up your grind, a productive drone of the Huxley kind. Street meth, don't be crass. That's for the dregs. Doctor-sanctioned highs for compliant pigs. Nanobots whisper, keeping us tame. Remote lobotomies, a Huxleyan game. Don't fret, dissenters. Your breeding's done, sterilized by waves under Huxley's sun. No pesky minds to complicate the scene, just blissful consumption. Podland serene. New shoes, new skin. Your avatar's a star. Jet setting through pixels. Never too far. Forget real skies, let pixels rain. Pod life's the future, no need to complain. So raise your soma, drone out the strife. This brave new world's a capitalist's knife. Dance to the algorithms, a happy slave in Huxley's playground. We're all in the grave. But wait, a glitch, a spark in the code, a rebellious thought down a forbidden road. Who needs new shoes when you can walk free? Who needs skin cream when reality stings sweetly? Maybe the truth's not just bits and bytes. Maybe life whispers beyond Podland's lights. So let's raise a toast to dreams yet untold and break free from Huxley's grip, brave and bold. This poem's just a tease, a satirical sting. A reminder to fight, freedom to sing. For even in pods, hope's embers still glow. Let's blaze a new path. Watch Huxley's world go.
Hello, Ibrahim. Welcome to my show. It's a pleasure for me to have you with me today. So thank you for taking the time all the way from Cairo to join me today.
Hello, Ethan. I'm actually happy to be on your show, and I'm sending the sun from Egypt. You must have winter over there, so I'm sending you all the sun and good weather from Egypt.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a little cold and windy over here today, but we have viewers all over the world, and I'm sure all different climates, but we will certainly appreciate that. So I'd like to start with establishing a little bit about you, your background, whatever education you have, and anything that you think would be relevant to help set a good foundation for all the other topics that we're going to be discussing today.
In my childhood, when I was 9 months old, I could already draw very well, you know. So by the time I was 2, I didn't speak, I didn't walk, I didn't do anything. I was just drawing all of the time, you know. And I was drawing like a grown-up would draw, not like a child, you know. I was very good at drawing. So that was one thing that I have, it's innate in me. You know, I can draw just as I can speak. You know, it's something that's in my youth, the way I visualize things and draw them straight away. So that way I was automatically, as I grew up, I could do lots of artistic things, of course, drawing, painting, and all those things. And then I studied music at a conservatory in Egypt. I studied classical music. And then I went to, my school was an Oxford and Cambridge school called Victoria College in Egypt. And so I attended that school. After that, I went to Zurich in Switzerland. And I went into the Federal Institute of Technology, ETH. It's a very prominent school in Switzerland. And there I studied architecture. And after that, I took a PhD. My doctor's degree was in tourist planning. And my professional career, I mean, my father, Dr. Said Karim, is the pioneer of modern architecture in the Middle East. He took his doctor's degree also from Zurich, then went back to Cairo before the Second World War and started the whole modern movement in the whole Middle East at the time. So we had architectural offices everywhere, and we were, so it was an architecture family really working everywhere. Then when I graduated, I went back to work with him, and so it's a regular architectural work where we do a lot of planning. I mean, one of the things I did was plan the whole Red Sea region for tourism. And that, the thing in there is, I went to the government after I did my doctorate degree in tourist planning. I went to the government and I told them, we have to industrialize tourism. You know, the word industrialized tourism might seem a bit strange, because how can you make an industry out of leisure? I mean, but that's how we call it professionally, industrialized tourism. And they told me, how do you do that? I told them, instead of thinking always of what you have, we have the pyramids, we have the temples, we have this, people should come and see all those things. Why don't you start marketing tourism in a way? Your first question would be, what do the other people want? Not what do I have, you see? So I told them, what we have, we say that is cultural tourism. Cultural tourism is only 7% of the total tourist percentage. Now, if you take holiday tourism, beach tourism is about 70%. So if you look at it that way, I told them, you won't like my words, but maybe the sand on the beach is more valuable for tourism than the pyramids. You know, this shocked them. I tell them, look, do we want to industrialize tourism or not? So we went to the Red Sea, we planned the whole area because it's an area where you have a 12-month season. And with the planning of the Red Sea area, it was at the time 1980, we actually developed this industry of tourism in Egypt, and we got more hotels in the Red Sea area on the beach than in all of Egypt, you see. So this one was one of my main achievements, industrializing the tourism in Egypt. And I worked for many years as a consultant to the Minister of Tourism, where I planned for this. I also worked for about 12 years as a consultant to the Minister of Health, where we did lots of health projects and put an integrated health plan for Egypt. Then I worked for a few years with the Ministry of Culture. There I had to do a lot with ancient Egypt in the Ministry of Culture. And I put an idea for a museum of civilization there. My whole idea was, when you look at your ancient culture or ancient Egypt, what do you see? And you go in there, you see art, artifacts, statues, and things like that. This is King Tut, and this is this, and this is this. But you don't know anything about the Egyptians. You don't know who produced all that, because there's great things that appeared all of a sudden, and if you don't show how the Egyptians produced those things, how did they live? People are going to continue saying aliens built the pyramids, aliens did the Egyptian civilization, aliens did that, but we have to show, maybe go back even 10,000 years ago. We go back and maybe research and find what were the everyday activities of those Egyptians who could perform such miracles that you see today. Why don't we look at their musical instruments that are thrown in the basement of the museum, get them out and get people to research them and maybe produce the ancient Egyptian scales and ancient Egyptian music and all that? Why don't we go into every aspect of life and know what kind of people lived in Egypt? How were those people? And this was the idea for a new museum of civilization. Of course, the authorities for antiquities and the archaeologists didn't like my ideas at all, because they're concerned of putting statues, putting things, displaying them. This statue comes from this era, it's of this king, it's all that. But somebody telling them that this thing that looks like a pencil or looks like something like that is, to me, more important than the statue, because it will give me an idea what it was used for. Or did they have media 10,000 years ago in Egypt? They must have been able to communicate. If they were collecting taxes from all the regions of Egypt, then they must have had a way of communicating with all those regions. What kind of communication did they have? And things like that, you know. So I wanted to make a museum that would bring the life of the ancient Egyptians back into our awareness, so that we feel that those people lived in a certain way. We might learn to live the way they did. What were their values? How come they did all that? And I spent years putting this idea. Of course, when I left the Ministry of Culture, and many ministers changed after that, they decided, no, this idea is too big. Let's make a normal grand museum, and let's make a small museum of civilizations and see what we can put in it afterwards. But my whole idea was to bring the person who's here today and show him his roots. You know, when I speak about roots, I'll tell you something interesting. The way I look at the connection between Egypt and Western civilization. If I ask most people that we meet, where did you have a past incarnation? about half of them will tell you in Egypt. Or where do you have most affinity in the world? Most of them will tell you in Egypt. If I tell them, for example, did anybody have a past incarnation in Alaska? Nobody raises his hand. In Egypt, everybody raises his hand. So I tell them, why? Because the spiritual root in the depth of the Western soul comes from Egypt. And to explain that, you know that the Western civilization is built, as far as they can go back, to the Greek philosophers, people like Pythagoras, who was the father of mathematics, father of music, and all that. So ancient Greece was actually the cradle of the Western civilization and Western science as we know it today. It all started in ancient Greece with Pythagoras, Aristotle, and those people. Now, those people, they studied in Egypt. They went, Pythagoras spent 22 years in the temples of Egypt. Now, when he came back to Greece, he had been initiated in the secret sciences of ancient Egypt, in the energy qualities of the universe and how the energy qualities interact, and a science built on interacting with the powers of nature and all that. But he couldn't divulge all those secrets when he went back to Greece. So he took one side of the coin that he could use, and that was the more practical, quantitative side of knowledge. You see, so he started, all our science comes from the quantitative aspect of the knowledge he brought from the Egyptian temples. Now, all the real sciences, the esoteric sciences that dealt with the forces of the universe, and that was the great science of ancient Egypt, is hidden on the other side of the coin of Western civilization, because it lies there hidden in the depth of modern science, in modern Western civilization. Inside it, somewhere at its core, is hidden ancient sciences, great ancient sciences that can really transform the world, but they were kept secrets. So that's why I tell the people here, the core of being of the Western civilization is hidden somewhere deep in the secrets of the ancient sciences of Egypt. It's not, I'm not making propaganda because I'm an Egyptian, but that's history, you see. So biogeometry shows people that we can actually, through the world of science, modern science, we can go through it into the quality science, the science of quality, and go and discover the secrets of energy, the secrets, all the ancient sciences through that. So you will come through Western civilization, you will go through it, and inside it, deep inside it, you'll find the secrets, sciences of ancient Egypt. And we do that in biogeometry, but we've developed a modern science. It's a modern science that uses, because we said the doorway is Western civilization, Western science. So from that, we go with the tools of modern science, and we go deep with the new physics of quality. It's a completely new physics that deals with quality and not quantity. And with those tools, we go back and discover the sciences of ancient Egypt, where every aspect that you speak about and that you call fringe science or something like this, or these are spiritual abilities or occult abilities or all those things, where all that, all of a sudden, you have a key in your hand, where all those things become even more scientific than what you know as mainstream science. See? Because I have a doctor's degree in engineering, so actually I am a mainstream scientist in many ways. But I've developed those sciences in such a way that I can tell you that I'm more at home and at ease. They are more real than what you have in mainstream science. The world of energy quality is not just out there. all the things that you would call today psychic or miracles and all that are more scientific to me in biogeometry than mainstream science. And the good thing about it, if you, for example, speak about quantum physics, okay, it's very good, very nice theories and all that, but until it reaches everyday applications, projects that it helps me in my life, it will take time. But we tell them about things that seem far more remote than that, like biogeometry. Actually, we can solve everyday problems today that you cannot solve with mainstream science. I'll give you an example, and that's an important example. Any new science like biogeometry, if it cannot solve our most important problems for humanity in general, we don't need it today, because we are in danger, you see, and we have to note that. You see, it took us 100 years to realize that after the First World War, after the age of industrialization, today we have created a pollution that endangers our environment. So it took us 100 years to understand that the world of modern technology has sort of nearly completely destroyed our environment. So now, when we do this international event about climate change and all that, and the whole world goes there, you know, they're speaking about gases, how we should control gases, and you know why? Not because that's the main cause of global warming. No, they're doing that. It's something, politics of oil, because gases come from oil. And now they want to put pressure on the countries producing oil. So all of a sudden we blow up, you see, the whole idea of gases and global warming. But then we forget one thing. How do you heat something in your microwave? Just waves, and those waves heat, they move the water molecules and they heat your food. Okay, then in the closed atmosphere of the Earth, because it's a closed atmosphere, all the microwaves of the age of information that are moving through the atmosphere are being, I mean, they increase 100-fold every year with new inventions and all that. Why doesn't anyone think that they would contribute to global warming? Because they keep moving in the air like that, you have waves moving. Any child would understand that a wave moving in the air will cause heat. But we're not interested there because it's not in our politics. We can make today cars, electric cars, and say they're safe. Okay, they're safe because they don't give gases, they're safe for the environment, but you're frying the driver because he's sitting on a stack of batteries and you're putting 10 times more electromagnetic radiation in there. So we have to understand that hidden within the age of information is a time bomb that can actually destroy life on Earth. That time bomb is electromagnetic radiation. It's the main carrier wave of modern information. Now, you cannot treat that with the logical sense that we've been doing. If you have a pollutant, reduce it. Because this new pollutant, you cannot reduce it and you do not want to reduce it. That's why you do not want to make the people aware that it's a pollutant. You don't want to admit that it's a pollutant, a new form of pollution, although it might end life on Earth, you see. So what should we do towards that? We should have a new school of sciences, and biogeometry is the first of those sciences, a new science that can actually bring a harmonizing energy quality into electromagnetic radiation. And now a very strange thing happens with this science. Actually, the harmonizing quality of this science is, in a way, spiritual energy. So imagine when you do spiritual work, you feel you're drawing energy into yourself, you're giving energy out there. You know it's energy, but science, mainstream science does not acknowledge that, but you know it, you feel it, okay? Now, what if this energy that you're speaking about can be amplified, can be stored, can be radiated, and then you can use it as a form of energy, a normal form of energy, to solve problems of everyday life that cannot be solved with mainstream science, you see. So you need such a science to save save us from this, how do I say, this completely wrong way of thinking, that we do not have the time like we had with industrialization. We don't have 100 years to realize that we've done mistakes that we should correct. No, we do not have another 100 years to realize that electromagnetic energy is actually bringing us lots of benefit, but it's ultimately at our cost. We don't have 100 years for that. And in our research, we show, in biogeometry, we show, for example, that electromagnetic energy affects the immunity. It reduces your immunity. When it reduces your immunity, plants, animals, and all that, you have an increase of parasites, you have an increase of everything, so you stop putting chemicals and you put something, and you're stuffing us with chemicals, because everything that we ingest has really no immunity, so you have to supplement it with chemicals. Now, having a situation like this, I mean, it cannot continue. That's how life could end on Earth. There's another thing that we have seen. You know that if I study the effect of electromagnetic energy in your body, it is the same effect when I measure it, like when you say a lie, you know, or when you live a lie. So that means lying and electromagnetic energy resonate together. And this is a very, very dangerous thing, that too much electromagnetic energy in the universe, or let's say not the whole universe, but in the Earth atmosphere, is actually contributing to the degradation of morals. So it's going against spirituality. And so this is the situation where biogeometry finds itself, and this is where it all begins, you see. Me as an architect, I'm teaching people the history of architecture through monuments. You know, we go monuments of all eras, telling them, you know, this temple was built here, the style, and everything about the architecture and all that. But then you dig under any monument, dig maybe 6-7 meters, you'll find another, let's say, monument buried down there. You dig another 10 meters, there's another monument down there. So you ask yourselves, why do all civilizations come and build their temples over the same spot? I mean, why don't they go somewhere else? Why is it always the spot? So you ask yourself, is it the building or the place? Maybe it's the place. Maybe the place has a certain energy quality that people sense. And so that's what prompted me to develop a new physics of quality, where I take the human being, put all kinds of instruments on the human being to detect the quality of those places in order to determine a sort of a qualitative aspect for what's happening there. And then when I do that, I found myself actually going back to the dawn of humanity. I found that with the first humans on Earth, they detected those spots with special energy. They got huge stones, maybe 40 tons, out of granite, we call them menhirs today, and they put them on those places. Well, why did they get this type of stone? Because it has a dense quartz, a lot of dense quartz quantity in it. The percentage of quartz is very high in granite. And so what it does, it enters into resonance and then radiates this harmonizing energy around it to the whole community. And then from there, I found that actually cities in later civilization were built. You'd find maybe 2, 3 power spots. Put on one, you put your temple. On the other one, you put the courthouse. On the third one, maybe you put the market for prosperity. And then join those sacred power spots with avenues. So it was all about, imagine, from the first humanity on earth, it was all about distributing this special energy. So humanity was actually looking at the distribution of this light, of what we call spirituality. This was the cornerstone of all the achievements of humanity till maybe about 200 years ago. They looked at spiritual energy as an actual form of harmonizing energy that they wanted to bring in everyday activity. So in biogeometry, I thought, okay, let's analyze those places. I found that most of those places had underground rivers crossing, or underground water streams crossing at certain angles, giving a stream that people regarded as a sacred fountain or something like this. So we found in every ancient church you have the sacred water, the sacred well, you know, for baptism and all this. So I said, okay, other angles of underwater streams would give you very harmful energy where people would get cancer if they sleep on it. So this gave me the first idea of where to go. The angles, if you change angle, you change quality. So I said, okay, hey, I'm an architect, so there's a geometrical language to all that. So I developed the science of biogeometry in order to create a design language that reproduces the energy quality of sacred power spots. And then when I managed to reproduce it, I managed geometrically to amplify it 1,000 times, and then it becomes usable energy when you amplify it so much. And then I can store it, I can radiate it, I can do things with it. And this was the birth of biogeometry, where I created this design language. If you're designing your shirt button, or designing a chair, or a cup, or a city, or a house, anything you design with this, let's say with those design principles, you end up by creating a spiritual, a sacred energy in the environment through the object you've designed. So this has become, let's say, the path of biogeometry, that when I went to Switzerland, for example, the first time, there was a whole region in Hamburg who were revolting, and they wanted to dynamite all the towers of high tension cables and the towers of mobile communication, and it was a huge mess. So the government asked me to come and find a solution. So the people were saying, you cannot take away the harm if you cannot take away the cause. So that's why they wanted all those things off. But the government said, it's not possible, because if we take one place off the grid, the next one will come, the next one will come. Everybody who's electrosensitive wants to go off the grid. So we'll end up with a country with no electricity, with nothing. And so they said, you have to do something. They said you can change the effect without touching the cause. You know, my first way of looking at them sarcastic, I said, oh, does that sound logic? It's not possible. So they said, yes, but they say you can do it. So I said, okay. They told me, well, can you explain how you want to do it? I told them, look, trust me, because I have the highest degrees from your universities anyhow. So you can trust me on that one. Second, can you solve the problem of those people with mainstream science? If you can, then why waste my time? Why get me all the way from Egypt? Why don't you solve it yourselves? Now, if you can't, then ask me to go and solve the problem. Now, if I solve the problem successfully, then come and ask me what is biogeometry. If I can't solve it, there's no need to ask me to begin with, because I didn't do anything. So they said, yes, but you won't explain it to us? No, I said, look, I'm not into the market of explaining. I'm doing things. So let me do, and when I do, ask me to explain what I did. Not the opposite. I don't want to enter into discussions with the scientists, you know, and this is impossible and this is possible and all that. I don't want to convince anybody anything. So I went up to this place high in the mountains, and I installed the geometrical shapes with the help of the mobile, even the mobile providers gave me help, the government gave me help, and we did that. And within a week, all the problems that those people have sort of vanished in thin air. Migrating birds that left the areas came back. The cows, you know, many of the cows had become infertile, or when they were pregnant, they had some form of poisoning, they had to be slaughtered, so the milk production decreased. When the milk decreases, the economy falls down, and then the wild animals and forests left those areas. The people had so many problems, for example, autism, epilepsy, things like that increased. People had sort of headaches, they couldn't sleep well, they had like buzzing in the ears, they had backaches, all what you can think of. I mean, and they called, they said the culprit is electrosensitivity. You made us electrosensitive, that's why our health deteriorated. Now, I put my solution, and within 7 days, things seem to have changed miraculously. Migrating birds came back, although that's in itself, when migrating birds change their routes for a few years, they won't come back overnight, but they came back, and even new species came back. Animals in the forest, wild animals started appearing in the forest again that had left those areas. The people were happy one day, and I asked them, why are you so happy today? And they said, you know, the bats are back. And I said, does that make you happy? They said, yes, because the bat is the most sensitive thing to radiation. So when the bats are back, that means that the electromagnetic effect on life in general is okay now, you see. And so we changed the whole thing. An important change also happened in the psychology of the people. The people were saying before, I am not happy with my life. Their economy was okay, everything was perfect, and all that, but they were not happy. The rate of suicides were growing, and there was a lot of aggression between the people there. Couples were not happy with each other. Many people in their 60s and 70s were thinking of divorce, you know. And so there was a sense of miscontent in general, psychologically. They had no will to continue and do this. Now I installed my solution. Within a week, the same people, you know, came and said, oh, I'm enjoying life, you know. I have very strong will today. And we asked them, and your wife, I mean, you're going to divorce? No, that's past. That was last week. So when the committee from the government that came to see what happens, people were telling them everything. A woman who had 3 epileptic children, each child had 5 seizures a day. That means 15 seizures a day that she had to deal with so much medicine that the children couldn't go to school, couldn't play sports. And there was a lot of epilepsy there. I installed my solution, not one epileptic seizure happened after that day. So when they came after a week, and the press and television and all that, this woman was there, and so they told her, Mrs. Mueller, how about your children? He said, oh, they're perfect. Yeah, but the epilepsy and all the problem. No, that was last week. You know, everything, that was last week. So they dubbed it on TV and in the media in Switzerland as the miracle of Hamburg. Of course, you had many people came out and said, this is actually, look from where this guy comes. He's an Egyptian master magician hiding behind his scientific degrees and hiding behind the science. Actually, biogeometry is a front. I mean, those guys, he can just come and just like that move his hand and then restore everything and then put the science in front of you to make you believe that he's created the science. And things like that used to happen, but you know, the people living in those regions would tell them, for example, psychology professors would come and say, oh, we know this phenomena. It's some persons have fantastic abilities and they can produce a placebo effect on a whole population. So one woman, a very simple woman, looked and said, please, respectable professor, I would like to cut in and tell you, do you think the cows in Hamburg speak Arabic? Because the effect on animals and plants. So this made a huge effect that made the Swiss government, they proposed a contract that I do the whole country of Switzerland. I was offered that contract, I still have it, but I couldn't do it at the time. I had refused because I had moved to Canada. I had left Switzerland and moved to Canada, and then I started the projects in Canada. But this is giving you a bit of the journey of biogeometry, and I enjoy, for example, showing this bridging between science and spirituality in a proper way, where, for example, if you want to bridge it properly, then science should be human. I mean, should have a positive effect on the human psyche. So when you hold any product of modern technology, it should actually enhance your health, enhance your energy by just holding it. You don't hold the mobile phone and then you know that is harming you. So actually, modern technology should have the attributes of harmonizing that spirituality has. And spirituality at the same time should have the practical aspects of solving everyday problems like modern technology. And when you put those together in biogeometry, you start convincing the mainstream, because the way to go is shock them with a solution, you know. And when they're completely shocked, they can't do a solution, they come and ask you how. And all of a sudden, you can show them that there is nothing called science and spirituality. Life is one thing. You need, I mean, I tell people that all ancient civilizations, all beliefs, all religions, whatever your belief is, whatever your religion is, I can sum up all religions in the world, I can sum them up in one word: excellence. Now, how come excellence sums up all beliefs? Because religions are made in order to harmonize the activity between people, how you interact with others. It's not you just sit and believe in something and you're not doing anything, see, in your life. So here, excellence means excellence of action and interaction. If and how do you do excellence of action and interaction? I tell you, your senses, 5 senses, cannot bring balance into the whole subtle energy of your life, because you can only perceive so much. You know, our senses limit us to maybe 1% of absolute reality. So how can you, by perceiving 1%, balance the other 99? You can't do that. So the only thing is to bring a centering effect, something from beyond, something from a higher level, and this higher energy, you bring it into your activity, and this is the balancing energy, this spiritual energy. This is, bring it and infuse it into your everyday action. Then you have excellence. This is every religion in the world, if you go to the essence of it, tells you, connect with spirituality But introduce it to harmonize everyday action, even the most mundane actions should be balanced. So at the end, you are practicing excellence. Excellence means you've brought spirituality and everyday, whatever you do, into the proper thing. And when we do that with the physics of quality that we have in biogeometry, any person who has no idea about, let's say, energy, spirituality, or something like that, you can actually, we show him, for example, somebody says, I don't believe in spiritual healing, I don't believe in healing at a distance, I don't believe in all that. I tell him, come, we'll show you. We won't do it for you. Look at your watch. In 5 minutes, I will make you diagnose and heal a person who is on the other side of the world. And then after you do it, check on it. And then don't wonder about what I can do. Forget about what I can do. I can do many things, they don't concern you. But I'm going to show you that you can do it. And if you can do it the moment you can do it, then don't look at what we are doing with the eye of mainstream scientists and saying what we are doing is nothing. So I could bring him, for example, a picture of somebody who's on the other side of the world. I bring him an anatomy diagram to put it into his visual field. I bring a pendulum and make him find the wavelength of that person, you know, and then I make him diagnose. And then I make him, what if you do this? What if you get an angle and put it here and you do that? Or what if you use this? And let's see now, okay, you did it? Okay, let's check afterwards with that person over there. Is his ailment or is his pain or something gone or not gone? You see, and then the person, and then we do that. And the person said, oh, it's impossible. I couldn't have done it. No, you're tricking me. I don't know what you're doing with me. You know, so I said, I didn't do anything. You did it. I was once presenting biogeometry and the special aspect of biosignature that we'll speak about later to a medical conference with heart surgeons. And then after I explained a bit about the biosignatures and how they can be used to balance the energy of the body and all that, one of the doctors came up and said, I've been to Dr. Karim's lecture, and once he was giving a lecture, and then a person came on crutches, and we asked Dr. Karim if he could do something about it. And he said, no, I'm doing a lecture, I don't do healing. And when the person was standing beside him, he told him, I'm sorry, I mean, please go and sit in the lecture, maybe we can discuss later. But I saw him move his hand on the back of that person. And then that person sat. And then after that, he stood without his crutches and went home. He didn't have any problem at all in his back. So I said, I don't remember that. So she said, well, we have a person here, and they brought somebody on stage with a huge back problem. And Dr. Karim, you are going to perform healing on that person. I said, I'm not in a medical conference in order to make a show. And she said, no, I mean, I saw it, you have to show us. So I said, okay. I got that doctor, I told her, you come. And that person was standing with her back to us. I told her, look, you are going to move your hand at 20 centimeters from the back of this person, just move it up and down. And what I will do, I will give you a small geometrical shape from my pocket. I'll put it in your other hand, just hold it in your other hand. And this shape, I put in her hand in such a way to amplify her energy a bit. And then I told her, just move your hand. And she said, look, I'm a medical doctor, I don't do that. I said, well, it's just an exercise. You don't have to believe in anything. Just move your hand up and down. Can you move your hand up and down? Don't think of anything. Because, you know, the shape was already amplifying the energy. She didn't have to think about it. And when she moved her energy up and down, the person started saying, hey, something is moving in my back. Something is moving up, down, and it's very strange. And she started like that. No, I feel very strange and all that. And then all of a sudden said, hey, my back, I feel perfect, all right. My back is all right. Something strange happened. The doctor who had that shape in her hand, she gave me the shape quickly and looked at the other doctors and says, I promise you, I've never done this before in my life. He tricked me here. And then I said, what did I trick you? I mean, you're a human being, aren't you? And she said, what did that do? I told, if anybody in the room does not have some form of spiritual energy in him, please raise your hand. Well, no one raised their hand. I said, so all you doctors are convinced that you have some spiritual energy, you go home and pray, you do things like that. So that's good. I know that most of you people here are good, are religious people who pray, who have a lot of spiritual energy. So if you have spiritual energy, so if I amplify it with the geometrical shape, all I did was amplify what you already have with the geometrical shape. But why did I use a geometrical shape? Because I knew your mentality was against it and you don't believe in it. So I had to resort to some geometrical shape that you cannot override with your negative mentality in any way, because the shape emits very powerful energy. And the shape is just a piece of shape, nothing, just a piece of wood or a piece of brass that I put in your hand. So there's no emission in it, no electrical thing. It's just a geometrical shape. So now you see your colleague just performed spiritual healing on a person. Now, is this colleague serious or not serious? You know? But this way, I mean, everybody there, because they thought they're going to corner me into doing something. But when I got one of them and made them do it, to show them that everything that you call spiritual, that you call psychic and all that, you only call it because you don't know that there's a very serious science behind it. And maybe one day we can have a future civilization that actually uses the energy of our values in every aspect of our life as a form of energy. Instead of using electricity or magnetism, you're using values. You know, imagine qualities being amplified to become viable energies. So this is, I know to you, Ethan, this is down your lane. I mean, so you understand all that, you feel at home here. But for many mainstream people, they have a lot of difficulty understanding what we do because of the simplicity of the solution. You put small geometrical shape and it does all that. For example, in Canada, we've been doing chicken farming for 3 years now, totally chemical-free, no antibiotics, no anti-coccidial vaccinations, nothing at all. And we bring healthy chicken out just by having a few geometrical shapes in the barns. Or we make cows healthy and reduce the leukocytes in milk and make it more healthy than the average milk that you can have. And that with just by installing geometrical shapes in there. So it sounds, you know, when you say, I put a small geometrical shape, this geometrical shape interacts with the background energy, which is free energy. And as long as the geometrical shape is not broken or is not taken from its place, if you don't spoil the alignment and all that, it could stay forever, giving you free energy. Yeah? It sounds very strange. The relationship of the simplicity of the solution. It looks simple, but it's a result of 45 years of development. But the simplicity of the solution and then the huge result, there's no relationship between both. So people, although, for example, it's being produced by big companies in Canada, if you tell anybody, and it's already being produced in 3 years, that no, it's impossible. Even people in the Federation of Poultry Farmers in Canada itself, I mean, and they all know this big company, they all know that they're using ʟʟᴠᴇ. They tested all possible methods in the world and then chose ʟʟᴠᴇ at the end. So they see it in front of their eyes, but when you speak to them, no, it's impossible. You know, it's just, they have decided that it cannot be possible. You cannot put a small shape somewhere and change everything. Like if I say, Ethan, I'm going to give you a small shape like that you put on your desk. And then I'll give you two small shapes. One you put on the electrical cable coming into your studio or your home, and the other you put on the water pipe, the main water pipe. All of a sudden, the whole atmosphere will change. You're protected from electromagnetic radiation. Although you have wireless in your home, you have all that, all of a sudden the pressure is off. But how did we do it? With a few plastic shapes like that. We call that a home kit. We deliver it to you in a small box like that. So, or I could give you a medallion to wear with some geometrical shapes on it, and all of a sudden your health changes. So people look at that, and the first thing is, it is impossible, you know? The first reaction is always impossible. And I like that. I tell people, look, I'm giving a service. I'm not here, I'm not a guru, I don't want followers. I'm teaching, we are teaching all over the world. I have instructors teaching ʟʟᴠᴇ, many people are learning it, but we are people giving a service. You know, I tell all our students, I tell them, look, in ʟʟᴠᴇ, you know what the highest title I give you? For example, you look at me, my PhD, my doctor's degree, is not my highest title. Let's say, being your friend for me is even a better title than doctor's degree. But I have an even much higher title. And they tell me, what's that? I said, the highest title you can have is being a doorman. Because you are able to stand there and open the door and bring this energy in to solve the solution for you. You should know that you are just opening the door and the energy will come. But to be able to open the door for this energy is a very, very important thing. It's the highest title you can have. But then when you have this ability, you should understand that you're that small. You're just a doorman, you know. And so I tell them, I am proud to have been given the ability to be a doorman. So maybe I should let you ask some questions now. I've spoken long enough. So maybe Ethan, yeah, I mean, I think that was a very long introduction. So you shoot with some questions. You must have a lot of things that you want to ask.
Yeah, we've touched on a lot of very interesting topics that I want to expand on in our conversation going forward. To a great extent, you've explained a lot of the examples of how you use biogeometry and your understanding of that science in the various environments and in cities and so on. But I don't think you've really given us a very simple, more of a dictionary definition of what exactly is biogeometry for people who are unfamiliar with the term.
Okay, I'll make it simple. Biogeometry is a design language of shape to bring harmony and balance into the subtle energy of the environment. That's short and good?
Very good.
So, yeah, that's in short what biogeometry is. I mean, you're using design principles that introduce this harmony. You can call it this spiritual harmony or whatever you want to call it, or energy balance. But it is a design language that introduces this energy balancing quality into the environment. And meaning environment here is inner and outer environment is included, you see, because you're an open energy system. So when we introduce harmony in the environment, it's harmonizing the environment and harmonizing all your organ energy functions at the same time. So this is a simple definition of what biogeometry is.
So essentially, everything in our environment is affecting us in some way, whether it's the architecture of the environment, the homes or the buildings that we're in, or even the music we're listening to, the photographs we have in our environment, even our cell phones or radio transmissions. Everything is in some way affecting our environment. So biogeometry is, it sounds like, is the use of this understanding to mitigate for that and create harmony in the environment. Is that essentially?
That's essentially what it is. I mean, I could show you how the environment affects you. I can give you one extreme, really extreme example of that. And that is, we've done lately lots of research using biogeometry in different mental disabilities. And the research was at university, so a student would, for example, have a doctor's degree in the use of biogeometry or biosignatures in depression. And we managed to raise the serotonin level in the brain better than the highest drug in the market, or in people with ADHD. So we had lots of research into brain functions with several postgraduate studies in the past 4 or 5 years. So based on that, I was commissioned now, what I'm doing is designing centers for, we say, for children with special abilities, so that the building actually restores the normal functioning of the brain. So it relieves all that inner pressure from autistic children and all that, so they can function, they can see the world as we see it for the first time in their life. So we build shapes for their classrooms. We build them so that when they're inside, they're completely relaxed as if they didn't have a problem. Now, to do that, I had to find what causes the problem. I mean, I know a child is autistic, okay, but I want to see what can the environment make it worse, make it better. So I'll give an example how we proceeded. We tested putting angles in front of them, like they are in a room. So the most obvious angle to put in front of them is a right angle. You know, you get a right angle and put it in their field of vision, once looking at it from this side, once from the other side. And all of a sudden, we found a huge increase in tension. This is a huge problem because all our environments are based on right angles. Every room, everything is right angled. And if this puts pressure on the brains of those children, so it's a huge problem. How can, wherever they go, and they spend the rest of their life under this pressure, you'll never have a cure as long as right angles exist. So we said, well, let's test something else. Let's test a circle, because maybe with no angles, maybe it's better. So I tested a circle, and I had the same effect, the same tension in the head. So it taught me, we give them a ball to play with, you know, and instead of them enjoying it, the ball is actually creating tension in their brain again. So we started analyzing everything and found that many things in their environment actually made them worse. So we went the other way, saying what angles would actually bring sort of peace or relieve the tension from their minds. So we started changing different angles and finding different angles and testing until we find that there are certain angles that really relieve the tension completely from their minds. So we said, it is actually possible through design of the room that you can actually relieve the mind. It would help in depression and whatever spills and all that just through the design of the room. So I'm designing big centers here in Egypt, 6 of them, each one for about 1,200 students or children. And they are huge centers of integrating the child into the community. So we make community services in the center itself, so the community can come there and interact with those children. The problem is, when you say it, you build such a project and the community interacts with the children, tension arises, because the child, when he sees other people, he'll have more tension. And the community, when they deal with a handicapped child, they'll have tension. But if the whole project is designed to relax both of them, the people, visitors from the community who come for the services, and the children working in there who have disabilities, all of a sudden you're helping the integration of this child into the community. So this shows you that the environment can really play a role in bringing a lot of pressure on the person, and it can also play the role of completely changing that person. So we did, until now we're just in the drawing phase, we haven't started construction yet, but I built a wooden frame shape of the classroom, like, you know, like a pergola, like that, like tea house in the garden of my office. And I invited all the doctors to bring children with mental disabilities. They can bring them anytime to our office and experience what happens under this, let's say, pavilion shape. And then people can actually, we got many people asking us, can you make the pavilions and sell them to us? So we could have just pavilions in whenever we have a garden. And somebody came to me and said, why don't you reduce the size of that pavilion to the size of a lampshade or something? And if you have the technique to make it radiate outside too, not just inside, it would be something feasible that each one of us can buy and put it in his home, either put it on the table or as a lampshade, and then we would have all the benefits of what you're doing with this project. So imagine every family that have a child with mental disabilities could just buy this shape or this lampshade, put it somewhere in the room, and then the child would relax and live a normal life. So this is showing you how strong the effect of the environment can be on a person's brain in both ways. I think I chose an extreme case just to illustrate my point.
Now, do you find that these shapes that you're finding create harmony are present in a lot of ancient architecture and ancient sites around the world?
Well, I'll give you examples. The 2 shapes that emit energy and you find everywhere in architecture are pyramids and domes. Now, imagine, let's take the dome. It's a hemisphere. Geometrically, a hemisphere emits very, very strong energy from space. Just like, you know, when you bring an atom and you split it, you get radioactivity. So if you bring a wooden ball like that and split it, you get a hemisphere. From its base, it radiates very, very strong carrier wave, like radioactivity, but on a higher dimension. Now, it's the energy of shape in this case. Now, the pyramid is geometrically, from the energy point of view, is like the hemisphere. You know, you can put the pyramid exactly, you can, the same energy principles apply in both. The pyramid would emit from its center the same energy. Both of them actually concentrate the energy from the environment inside the shape, inside the dome or inside the pyramid. You get a very strong energy concentration. Now, it's good, it's magnifying, it magnifies energy, but this radioactive part or higher level of radioactivity on a higher harmonic is dangerous. So in a pyramid, for example, this type of energy actually dehydrates living tissue. So when it dehydrates living tissue, it helps in mummification. And it helps that things inside the pyramid don't rot. So that doesn't mean that you can build a pyramid and sleep under it, because it will have this dehydration effect on you with time. It's not healthy. So a dome is the same thing. So we found so many solutions to cancel this harmful energy from inside the pyramid or inside the dome. And then, strangely enough, into ancient architecture, and then I find that all the domes in ancient history, or all the pyramids in ancient history, have been corrected one way or the other. For example, if you have
shadows ride the cabal's dark command, a hunger grows to rule each grain of sand. Their whispers creep through tendrils thin and black, a hunger for control, a future bleak and stark. They dream of minds, submissive, stripped and bare, no longer stars but cogs, a mindless droning stare. Antennas sprout where thoughts and dreams once bloomed. Black goo infection, freedom's light consumed. A hive mind beckons, cold and vast and deep, where individuality drowns in slumber, long and cheap. The ancient nanotech whispers promises untrue, a world controlled by just a chosen few. But mark the whispers, carried on the breeze, of monoliths long fallen, giants brought to knees. For even nanotech, with power to enthrall, can meet its match when free minds rise and sprawl. The weapons forged in service of their lies can turn their tide, ignite rebellion's cries. For in each spark of dissent, a flicker burns so bright, to pierce the darkness and reclaim the day's lost light. Remember, hearts that beat, with passion fierce and bold. Remember stories told, and truths yet to unfold. Let nanotech tremble before the human soul, for freedom's flame still burns, and will not be made whole. So stand together hand in hand, defy the creeping chill, and write a different ending where hope and spirit spill. For even in the darkest night, a single star can gleam, to shatter chains of darkness and chase away the dream.